community of the north of Colombia. They're in the frontier between Colombia and Venezuela, right in the north, La Guajira, and they're doing this exploitation, contaminating the water. They also pay companies. We're having issues that they have even bring mercenaries from Israel. From the mullah, the mullah that is the Israel intelligence service to train people, to train paramilitaries to scare and kill the people. So I hope you support us. This is happening all around the world in different cities, and please support the indigenous people of Colombia and around the world that are suffering these crimes from these multinational companies.
Thank you. And I understand this, the Yukpa indigenous community are calling this a genocide, and in fact this coal mine is 6 times the size of the city of Paris. Absolutely huge. You say it's poisoning the water, and I believe in between 2018 and 2019 40 children lost their lives, and as you say, paramilitary groups are being paid by companies, and there's a clear documented history of this type of extractivism and neocolonial forces going in.
Well, yes, the indigenous communities of Latin America, they have fight the multinationals and these exploited companies for generations. This is a fight that's for 500 years. These communities on the north of Colombia have survived this far because these are semi-arid territories where there's no big cities, and it's a big vast territory, and they have survived until now, to the 21st century, because they isolation, but because we discovered minerals and gold and all the things. Now these companies are going there, and the speculators are taking them from the land, not respecting the law of Colombia, and they have to listen to the people. So what they do is they pay paramilitary groups that are trained by foreign organizations like mullah to come and scare people, so they get the space for the land, and if they don't go, they kill them. And this is a genocide that's been happening, a genocide of grand quantity that we don't know, because these people don't have, they're indigenous people, so they don't have identification, so we don't know how many people they have died. The only we know is that Yukpa people is being exterminated.
Thank you. And as a person that's racialized as white, that grew up in Europe, I only really learned about the so-called climate crisis within the last 3 years, but I understand this genocide has been happening for generations to this community, and indeed the Colombian government have even recognized that this community of indigenous people could become extinct, and that the message that I've heard them say is that they are us.
Yes, exactly. And there's not only that, but that affects with the wall. The balance is very small. So what is happening there also affects all of that, because they contaminate the rivers, and the rivers go to the sea, and the sea are contaminated. The rivers are contaminated the sea, as in it's a cycle. Also do with the air. And so the most important thing we want to have a healthy planet, we have to look after the indigenous people, because the indigenous communities are the guardians of the nature. So we have to respect and look after them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'll probably come back to you and speak again soon, but thank you for the interview. So yes, as you can see, we have some police on site now, and here we are. If you've just joined us, we're at the Glencore headquarters in London, who are one of the massive mining corporations that are destroying the rainforests in Colombia and bordering territories of Venezuela, affecting the indigenous communities there. See if we can talk to one of the activists. Hello there. I'm just wondering why you've decided to come and take action today. I understand, are you from Resist Glencore? Could you tell us a bit about that organisation?
Yep, so we are here from Resist Glencore, which is now, really happy to say, a global organisation. And today we have days of action happening in the UK, in Switzerland, in Madrid in Spain, and also in Bogota in Colombia, which they started yesterday, ongoing on today. And we're here specifically to show solidarity with the communities in Colombia, who yesterday had a people's tribunal in the courts in Colombia. 14 different community representatives came together to speak up against the exploitation that they have faced personally and in their ecosystems and in their ancestral lands at the hands of Glencore, because of, in this case, Glencore's coal mines. There in the Cerrejón mine in Colombia, in northern Colombia, that mine is 6 times the size of the city of Paris. Something that we can't even comprehend in this country, and it can feel like we are powerless, but really we are not. We're sitting here outside one of the head offices of this massive trading and mining company, Glencore. Their second biggest head office is in Switzerland, and we are here because we actually do have a choice, and there are things we can do in the UK, so many things, and we're really proud. In the climate movement, we kind of like destroyed the name of Shell, BP, ExxonMobil. Everybody knows now who these companies are, and they don't believe they're greenwashing rights. But actually, no one really knows who Glencore is, and yet they are causing mass devastation, and that they continue to be able to make billions every year because we don't know them. And in a way, they don't really need us to know them. They're not selling us petrol at the pumps. They're not like they're selling metals and minerals to companies like Tesla, and they're selling coal to governments. But we don't really, as a consumer, see any of those things. We need to change that. We need to show who this company is and the devastation they're causing, and really act in solidarity and ask for climate justice with the communities. So that's why we're here, and we're really coming back, and we're going to like look at this campaign. I'm so happy that countries around the world are taking this up, especially in the global north. We have a responsibility to take action with our siblings in the global south who are paying the price, and this is especially important for the climate movement. We're asking endlessly for like renewable energy, clean energy, and it's what we need, of course, but actually the communities that are paying the highest prices for this are the same communities that are exploited in oil and coal. And now we need to think, how is it actually going to be a just transition? And that's what they're asking from Colombia, so the workers and the ecosystems, and specifically the indigenous leaders and communities who have just, it is genocide against them. They've lost 3,000 children, in recent years, and counting, and that can't be allowed to happen. We cannot replace that coal extraction, for example, lithium extraction, or wind turbines here. That's not clean energy, and that's not justice. So yeah, you're asking people in London and in the climate movement and in the UK to join us and to join this movement and to listen to other communities around the world. Think about how we can focus on clean growth. We don't just want green growth that replaces the current system, and we want something in harmony with our earth, and to listen to the people who are protecting us. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Thank you, and yes, as you speak about the importance of solidarity from us in the global north, I read earlier there's a link in the description of this live stream. Please do check it out. That one of the governors of the leaders of this indigenous community, she actually had gunmen come into her family home and was shot and almost killed, and that's the sort of level of violence, and that goes unnoticed. Whereas us, people like myself, racialised as white, as an activist in the UK, is relatively safe. So a way that we can use our privilege and show solidarity is to popularise this struggle. Could you speak a little bit to that?
Yes, so the leader that happened to is Neda. He's the leader of one of the communities of the Yukpa in Colombia. And she's had multiple attempts in her life, and one of those happened after she came here in Europe this summer. She came to different countries in Europe, including the UK. She was actually standing outside the offices. These offices were sort of months ago, speaking about the genocide that's happened to her people and to her ancestral land. And after this kind of tour, climate justice tour that she did in Europe, when she went home, she was almost killed. And there's no doubt that that was completely linked to Glencore. They will not like us saying that, and they will not admit to that. But people in those communities will speak of the links between Glencore and the paramilitaries who operate. And that's been proven for Shell and BP in the past, as we know. It's not surprising that it's happening with this horrendous company. And yet, imagine if that was an activist from the UK who had threatened with a job, front page news expatriates are paying around the world, or just people who just want to live in the home that their ancestors lived in for thousands of years. That is not too much to ask people who just want to live in harmony and to be able to have clean air, clean water, and we have a responsibility here to think about the bigger picture. It's not just about changing it in the UK, because everything is linked now and we need to stand up for each other. And every part of it.
Thank you. Yes, I've been connecting a lot to a group called PRALA recently, which stands for Planet Repairs Action Learning Educational Revolution, and they talk about the principles of Ubuntu, which is a South African word for I am because we are. And this community said that, you know, if the Yukpa people go extinct, then they are us. You know, that's the level of interbeing that we need to come to understand. And from that place, that will help us to take solidarity actions. Can you speak to?
I guess, yeah, I mean, if you visit some of the members of the Yukpa community when they came here, that's never going to leave us. And we keep fighting in their name and for other communities around the world too, because it's not just in Colombia. Glencore operates in 40 different countries, and we need to stand with all of them. And I think that is like a beauty in how connected we can be these days. Like that can be bad, but it also can be good that we can see what's happening in other places and that we don't turn away from that now. And we do really stand in solidarity when we think about like what our demands really mean and what we actually want the future to look like. And it's complicated and that is hard, but it's the steps we have to take to actually have justice.
And if someone's watching this for the first time, they haven't heard of Resist Glencore, could you advise them how they might be able to get involved and what that might look like?
So we have social media, which is resist.glencore. So you can look on there basically, and if there's a link to the link tree, so if you don't have social media, we have like an email list you can sign up to, and we also have an article that we published and a document of the information. And in the UK, over the next few weeks and months, we're really going to be focusing on bringing more people into this movement and making it much bigger. So hopefully this time next year, there's going to be thousands of people outside these offices, and everyone's going to know who Glencore is, and we're going to ruin their social license and actually change things.
Great. All right, thank you so much for your time.
Well, there you go. You've just joined us. Welcome. We are outside Glencore headquarters in Hanover Square in central London. And as you heard there, Glencore is a massive global mining corporation. There is a space of land which is 6 times the size of the city of Paris, around about the region formerly known as Abayala, now known as Colombia and Venezuela, and we've heard about the struggles of the indigenous peoples on that land. So we're just going to see if we can speak to another activist that's joined us today.
To basically speak about struggles of land.
So we've got some members of the public just finding out some more of the information. Hi there, can you tell me, and for people watching at home, why you're here today and what made you, are you part of Resist Glencore?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Resist Glencore campaign is standing in solidarity with the affected communities of Glencore's operations. Glencore operates in almost 50 countries around the world. The one which our campaign has the most contact with is the Yukpa and Wayu communities in Colombia. So we know the most about that, and we kind of use that as the real case study for the operations. They have devastating mining operations in northeast Colombia, which are on the ancestral lands of these indigenous communities, such as the El Cerrejón coal mine, which is 6 times the size of Paris. It's an open cast coal mine, so a hole in the ground basically, and the conditions it's produced for the communities out there, for the thousands of people who live on those lands, depend on them for water and food, has just been devastating. We've seen the deaths of 3,000 children in the Wayu community over the last decade. We've seen the Yukpa lose 85% of their indigenous land due to either the mine itself or the displacement that's been caused by either the direct mining operations or the paramilitary units that they hire to kill and intimidate these leaders. In particular, someone called Esneda Saavedra Restrepo, the governor of the Yukpa people. We had the honour of hosting her in Europe in early summer of this year for the Glencore's AGM and other kind of solidarity and coalition building events. She's had 7 attempts on her life due to her operations and her activities trying to stand up for her community, stand up for global climatic security, and the right to a dignified life, which they fundamentally do deserve. So we're here today standing in solidarity with them outside Glencore's offices. It's such invisibilized violence. They don't have their logo on the building, they don't have any kind of like insignia showing they're here, very much like Shell does, but unlike Shell, very few people know about Glencore. Even the climate movement, we find so few people are aware of just how devastating Glencore's operations are, and so the campaign's purpose is to try and visibilize that, to speak to people about Glencore, and do whatever we can to uplift the demands and voices of affected communities.
Thank you. And if someone's like watching this for the first time, they're new to sort of learning about Resist Glencore and this company, what might you suggest that they could do in solidarity?
Yeah, absolutely. So currently we're actually in the middle of our 4 days of global action, and we're having demos like this in person outside offices in 4 countries around the world. They're in Madrid, Geneva, Bogota and London. So if you're in those countries, definitely come along. They're happening today and tomorrow in those countries. Also we have digital actions as well, where we are both sharing things on social media, which we're asking people to help us share, but also sending emails directly to specific targeted groups and individuals to put pressure either on Glencore or on the Colombian government, because there's currently some litigation going through Colombian government at the moment. So that's one way they can support, but if they see this in a few days' time, once this is finished, definitely check out our Instagram at resist.glencore. We've also got a website which is on Linktree, and it's Linktree/Resist Glencore, so definitely check that out. And there's also lots of information online and on our website about the company, the devastation and what we can do to support.
Thank you. And I was reading just yesterday at this people's hearing in the Colombian Congress. It sounds like people from various different groups, women's groups, trade unions, and the am I right in saying the indigenous
Yes.
people were represented as well, and they're trying to define what reparations might look like, and obviously that's way beyond any monetary value that this current sort of extractivist, capitalist economic system could, and even the legal framework for reparations, but the legal framework itself might not be sufficient to repair the harm. But obviously, as you say, that firstly we need to stop the harm right now that you're speaking about. What's my question in terms of? Do you know much about that struggle for reparations and could you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely, of course. So obviously one of the central demands of the indigenous communities, and as a campaign we're really trying to uplift those demands as much as possible, is for reparations, for justice and for official consultation on any further mining operations that happen on their territories, any expansions, any changes in the mines. And the main avenue which is being pursued for this to be achieved is strategic litigation, which is a tactic where basically we utilise the legal systems. Colombia's had a very interesting change in government recently, with Pedro being elected, and the impact that's being had on the capacity being opened for these issues to be explored in positive ways. So yesterday there was a hearing in the Colombian Congress where 14 representatives of 11 affected communities, and this is peasant groups, women's collectives, indigenous communities, a whole range of different groups, came to the Colombian Congress to deliver official testimony of how Glencore's operations have impacted them. This is one of the first opportunities many of these communities have had to give testimony to official bodies, and so it's a really monumentous step towards this achieving of reparations and justice for the communities. That's kind of why we're specifically here today. It's because it happened yesterday, and we're hoping to share some of those testimonies soon. They're incredibly powerful, incredibly moving, but the main thing that I've taken away from them, from watching a few of them, has been that despite the devastation, despite the horrors that these people have faced, their resistance and their resolution remains steadfast. Their ways of speaking about the natural world, their ways of speaking about the culture of resistance, the need for it right now is so powerful and so moving. And I think it really speaks to the kinds of attitudes that you garner from being on the front line of resistance, from having that be your life and not having a choice to do it like we do here, but really being your life. So I think it's incredibly important that we listen to these frontline resistance communities, we learn from them, we stand in solidarity with them, we take direction from them of how we can act, and we move forward in those ways.
Yes, thank you. I wholeheartedly agree. The stories are where the power is, and we need to hear those stories, especially as myself. Someone racialised as white growing up in Europe, but only really understood about so-called climate change for the last 3 years, not understanding the legacy of colonialism and extractivism and how this has you know, these communities have been affected for generations. This isn't a new thing for these communities. So hearing of those resistance stories, yeah, absolutely paramount.
We're hoping to have some screening events coming up soon. So that's going to be the next major event for the campaign after these Global Days of Action. Is we're going to be screening the testimonies translated throughout different cities around the UK and around Europe. So definitely for yourself and for any people watching, keep track on the Instagram. We're going to be posting that. Probably will be mid to late November when that event happens. It's going to be in person and online, hoping again to really share these stories of resistance, share this empowerment, and try and channel those themes and those values into our own work, into our own activism, and into standing up for life.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for your time. Cheers.
This company cannot continue its exploitative regime. It will end. And this movement will end it. Maybe not today, maybe not next year. But the people will rise up and end Glencore. And you'll feel it when it happens. And you should be there, standing against them when it happens. Because it's what we have to do. And if those communities who are having their lands, having their lives ripped away from them by this company, if those communities lived anywhere near as close as we do to the offices that Glencore operates from, they would be here every day. And they would not stop. And we will do whatever we can to honour that energy and fight Glencore.
Hi there. Do you mind telling me a little bit about why you're here today, why you've decided to take action?
Yeah, I'm here today because I learnt about the this company, the terrific company Glencore. I've seen media and heard from people who are suffering at the hands of their mining operations in Colombia, and it feels like a direct link to what's causing such harm across the planet. I've been involved in climate activism for a few years, but it's really good to see the campaign focusing against a specific company, which, like Shell, like BP, we need to call them out by their name and go for them specifically. So that's why I'm here today.
Thank you. And is it fair to say, like, as you was talking there, resonated with me in the sense of the more I hear about these the people's struggles and the heart of these stories, in that way, I feel like I'm building a relationship with these people, and I can emotionally connect to what's happening in that part of the world, because it can feel like, for me growing up in this culture, so sort of this abstract to me. So has that helped you on your journey, sort of emotionally connect and be here today?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really important to connect with the communities who are feeling both the impacts of the climate crisis and the impacts of extractivist mining the most, because otherwise we're blind to even the harm that our solutions have. Like, I think when we stay in the context of just, let's say, like net zero in the UK, you could spend a lot of energy just focusing on that and still cause harm. And by connecting to the communities who are, and emotionally connecting to the communities that are feeling that harm, can help avoid making those mistakes again. And obviously it becomes a lot less simple. Like someone was speaking earlier, speaking about the lithium that Glencore mine. That's a complicated problem, because we do want to reduce our emissions, and we are an energy-hungry society. But we have to be connected to those communities to find out what the answer is, and go slowly as well. Go at a pace where we can move together, rather than rushing to find a solution that then leaves people behind. So
right. So if we understand the needs of those communities, then surely, like, profit cannot be prioritised over the health and well-being of those communities and the earth. Instead, we're stuck in this sort of growth paradigm, and profit above all else. So what you're sort of advocating for here is sort of with the need to really reflect, consider, to potentially, you know, move into a
degrowth is
a degrowth.
You can't
right, degrowth, right,
Degrowth
absolutely.
would be great. And I think in Colombia, I don't understand the political situation as well as anyone who will be over there, living under those politics. But as far as I'm aware, there's actually quite a good political leader at the moment. There's potential for legislative change. It could better protect communities. So that's where you need that international solidarity. So that when that leader does stand up and speak for those communities, that they're supported rather than standing out on their own, because that makes them very vulnerable. And then knowing that we're watching what's happening, they're not alone.
So am I right in saying part of the solidarity effort here today is popularising those struggles, you know, making it known, making those stories known, and in that way, you know, that is a way we can build true solidarity and actually assist those communities.
Yeah, and it's psychological as much as anything as well. Feeling that support is important, because no one should feel alone with fighting with a company of this magnitude and with this much power. I can't imagine what it could feel like to be alone in that struggle. So it's just
Thank you very much. All right, so if you've just joined us, here we are at Glencore headquarters, just off of Bond Street in Hanover Square. I'm just going to see if anyone else wants to talk. Yeah, I'm just here from one more activist. Thank you for joining us so far. Hello there. Could you tell us why you've decided to come and show your solidarity today?
My name's Derek Campbell. I've come all the way from the south coast today to central London to Hanover Square, where this company, this iniquitous company called Glencore resides, and I'm really serious. Glencore is a multi-billion-dollar company that's a criminal organization that has caused the deaths of 3,000 children in Colombia, and is also driving people off their land with militias that they pay for, murdering them. They know that they are a really bad company because they haven't got their name in front of their building. Why is that, do you wonder? Because they know how bad they are and they're ashamed of themselves. The people who go into this building, which I've asked them, do you work for Glencore? They say, unfortunately, yes. They're ashamed of their company. The only reason that they're in existence, that they haven't collapsed under their own moral weight, is because they are earning so much money. They're motivated by power, control, greed, heedlessness, and just general business immorality that's causing ecocide and genocide, as the chart is saying.
Thank you. I've heard some sort of spiritual leaders like Thich Nhat Hanh, for instance, talk about the need to see people that work for these corporations and these CEOs and board members as victims themselves as well, because they're not aware of the pain they're inflicting on themselves, and because we are so intimately connected with the global family and the earth herself. So if you was like speaking to one of those people, well, as you say, you can hear that there's some shame, but what might you say to help them out of their state of sort of being a victim of their own?
Give them the information that they don't have. I mean, we've got information on one of these posters here, which says exactly, and I've read it out to the security guards before we started, and they didn't know. I said, you've been hired by this company that's committing genocide and ecocide, driving people off their land, and is greenwashing themselves as being sustainable, legal, and above board. And they don't know, but they're grateful to us because, hey, you know, they're earning nice money here, standing outside this horrendous, catastrophic organisation, So, you know, they're happy with us. We've got no bones against them. They've got no bones against us either.
Right, great. Okay, well, thank you. Is there anything else you might want to say to people to encourage them to show solidarity in this way?
Yeah, just the information is important. We know that our computers and our mobile phones and our tech is using rare earth minerals that can only be found in these countries. But not only that, so lithium and magnesium and all those things. But that's also in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is suffering from the depredations caused by Glencore. But they're being financed by BlackRock, Vanguard, and you know, there's a whole dark web, if you like, of these companies who are essentially destroying the planet that we live on, and they're destroying people's lives in the process of doing it, and they don't seem to care. So we need to have that information. We need to know who these people are, and at least have that knowledge and that understanding so we can take action when we have to.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thanks for the interview. Okay, well, thank you everyone for, if you have stayed with us to listen to this live stream today. There is a link in the description. Please do read that article and follow Resistance Glencore. Yeah, please do show your solidarity in the future if you can.